She said, "I want to try dating other people before we get married." I said, "Then go ahead." That weekend, I went to the beach with her coworker who once said she liked me. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing, and neither did her regret that we'd been together for 3 years. Lived together for almost 2. By most accounts, we were a solid couple, not perfect, but stable. I'm Evan, 31. She's Rachel, 29. We met at work. Typical story. Late-night project deadlines, shared snacks. One, you should really get some sleep. And the rest is history. We've been talking about marriage for a while. Nothing too serious yet, just the someday kind of talk. Then one night, while watching TV, she paused the show and said, "I've been thinking. I want to try dating other people before getting married." I remember her tone more than the words. Calm, almost clinical, like she was discussing something as mundane as renewing a lease. I didn't say anything for a few seconds. "Okay," I said finally. "Then go ahead. Try it." Her face changed, not relief, not joy, just surprise. "Wait, you're okay with that?" "You're the one asking," I said. "I'm just agreeing." She started backpedaling. "No, I don't want to break up. I just think maybe we could take some space, Explore. Make sure we're not missing something. You want to see if there's something better out there," I said. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I guess, yeah." "Fair enough." I didn't yell, didn't plead, didn't call her selfish. I just turned off the TV, stood up, and said, "You don't owe me loyalty for something you're not sure you want. But don't expect to find me waiting in the same spot when you're done looking." That one landed hard. She blinked, confused. "What does that mean?" "It means I'll live my life, too." That Friday, she packed a small bag and said she was spending the weekend at a friend's house. I nodded, wished her well, and went about my day. But what she didn't realize was that life has a sense of timing, sometimes cruel, sometimes poetic. A week earlier, one of Rachel's coworkers, Sophie, had texted me by mistake. We'd met a few times at work events. She was smart, quick-witted, and painfully honest. She'd once admitted, during a slightly tipsy conversation at a Christmas party, "If you and Rachel ever break up, I'm calling dibs." I'd laughed it off back then. But that Friday morning, when she texted me again, we started talking. She mentioned a beach trip she and some friends were taking that weekend. "We have an extra spot if you want to get out of the city," she said. "No pressure, but I think you could use some air." I thought about it for maybe 10 seconds. Then I replied, "Sure, why not?" Saturday morning, I woke up to the sound of waves. Sunlight. Salt air. A rented Airbnb right on the water. Sophie was in the kitchen making coffee, hair messy, humming off-key. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was waiting for someone to decide if I was enough. We spent the day talking about work, about life, about how both of us were always the ones holding steady while others chased chaos. She didn't flirt. Neither did I. But there was an ease that felt like remembering how peace sounded. That night, we sat by a fire with a small group, laughing, passing drinks around, feeling human again. At 2:17 a.m., my phone started ringing. "Rachel." I ignored it. Then it rang again, and again, 7 times in a row. Finally, I answered. Her voice was slurred and panicked. "Evan, where are you?" "At the beach," I said evenly. "With who?" "Some friends." "Is Sophie there?" Silence. I didn't answer right away, and that silence told her everything. "You're with her, aren't you?" she snapped. "You're... Oh my God, I can't believe you do this to me." I almost laughed. "Do what exactly?" "You know what. You're trying to hurt me. You asked to date other people." "Rachel," I said quietly, "I'm just respecting your request." There was a long pause, and then her voice cracked. "I didn't think you'd actually do it." "That's the difference between us," I said. "You think. I act." And then I hung up. The next morning, I woke up to 15 missed calls, 8 voicemails, and 1 text that just said, "Come home. We need to talk." But I didn't drive home that day. I stayed another night. Not because of Sophie, but because I realized something simple and freeing. I didn't know anyone the version of me that waited for permission to live. When I got back into town Sunday night, I didn't go straight home. I stopped by a diner, ordered coffee, and sat in the parking lot for a while, letting my phone buzz unanswered. Rachel had called 13 times that day, texted even more. "We need to talk. I messed up. Please, can you come home?" Every message looked like the same sentence wearing different clothes. I finally drove back around midnight. Her car was in the driveway, lights on inside. When I walked in, She was sitting on the couch, knees pulled up, red-eyed and shaking. The same look people get when they realize the thing they were taking for granted isn't waiting for them anymore. "Evan, please," she started. "I didn't mean what I said. I wasn't trying to hurt you." "I know," I said calm. "You just didn't think I'd stop waiting for you to decide what you wanted. It was a mistake, okay? I just thought maybe I was missing something." I panicked. I nodded. "And that's fair. You're allowed to panic. You're not allowed to drag me into it." Her lip trembled. "So what, that's it? You just move on? No conversation? No second chance? You said you wanted to date other people," I said. I agreed. "You explored the idea. I explored reality." She stared at me like she was trying to read whether I was bluffing. "Did you sleep with her? Does it matter?" "It does to me." "Funny," I said, "because my feelings stopped matching the moment you put me on pause." She started crying then, full sobs, hiccuping between sentences. "I didn't think you'd actually go with her, Evan. I just thought." "You thought I'd wait," I interrupted. "You wanted to feel free without losing the safety net. But that's not how real life works." She covered her face with her hands. "I made a mistake." "No," I said gently. "You made a decision. You only realized it was a mistake when the outcome didn't flatter you." After a few minutes of silence, she looked up and said quietly, "I saw pictures of the trip. You looked happy." I said. "Not because of Sophie. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like an optional person." That one hit her. You could see it. That microsecond when the ego collapses and the truth hits like gravity. "I still love you," she whispered. "Maybe," I said, "but you don't respect me. And love without respect is just noise." When I stood to leave, she grabbed my hand, desperate now. "Can't we fix this?" "No," I said softly. "You can't fix what broke because you didn't think it could." I walked out. No yelling. No slamming doors. Just the quiet sound of shoes on tile and a door closing behind me for the last time. That night, I got one last text. "I don't know who you are anymore." I stared at it for a while before replying. "I'm the same person you said you needed a break from. You just never expected him to keep walking." Over the next few weeks, I heard through mutual friends that she'd been telling people I'd cheated. I didn't defend myself, didn't post cryptic messages, or set the record straight. Because when you act from truth, you don't have to convince anyone of it. Sophie and I stayed in touch for a while. Nothing serious at first, just two people who understood timing and consequence. Eventually, it turned into something real. And the best part? There was no drama, no guessing, just two people showing up on purpose. 3 months later, Rachel texted again. Just one line. "Do you ever think about me?" I typed back. "Sometimes." The way people think about storms after they've passed. A little awe, a little relief, and gratitude that they don't come back. Then I deleted her number for good. Update 1. It's been a year and 4 months since that night. The "I want to date other people" conversation that ended everything. Life, as it turns out, has a strange sense of rhythm. You don't realize how heavy something was until it's gone, and you find out you can breathe again. Sophie and I didn't rush anything. We started slow. Coffee, long walks, no labels, no expectations. We both had history, both knew what it felt like to be someone else's emotional test drive. But with her, everything felt deliberate. She never said, maybe, never left me wondering where I stood. When she said, "I'll call you," she called. When she said, "I missed you," she meant it. It wasn't exciting in the chaotic way I used to think love should be. It was calm, predictable, and that's what made it strong. Last month, I proposed. Nothing flashy, no photographers, no crowd. Just the two of us, a quiet beach, a ring, and a woman who didn't make me feel like an option. She said yes. We didn't post it online right away. We wanted a few days to ourselves first. But when she shared a photo of us at the engagement dinner, her hand on my chest, the ring catching the sunset, the comments section went wild. Mostly love, congratulations, emojis. And one comment buried among them that made me pause. "Wow, guess you moved on fast." I clicked the name. Rachel. I didn't respond. Didn't delete it either. Because silence, sometimes, says everything words can't. 2 days later, I got a text. Her name popped up like a ghost from a closed chapter. "Hey, I saw the photo. Congratulations, I guess. I just wanted to say I'm happy for you. I know I messed up. I was stupid. I thought you'd always be there. I didn't realize you were serious when you said you'd move on. Anyway, I hope she treats you right. You deserve that." It wasn't a bad message. In fact, It was probably the most honest thing she'd ever sent me. But I didn't respond right away. I let it sit there overnight, reading it a few times, not to analyze it, but to feel what I didn't feel anymore. No anger, no nostalgia, just closure. The next morning, I replied, "Thank you. You were part of my story, but not my ending. I hope you find someone who makes you want to stop testing love before it's gone." She never replied. A week later, Sophie and I went back to the same beach from that first trip, the one that started all of it. We walked the shoreline barefoot, the air soft, her laughter bouncing off the waves. At one point she said, "You look peaceful." "I am," I said. "It's weird. I used to think peace meant boredom. Now I know it just means nothing left to prove." She smiled, leaned into me, and said, "That's the best place to start forever from." I haven't heard from Rachel since. But sometimes I think about that night, not with bitterness, but with quiet gratitude. Because if she hadn't asked to try dating other people, I'd probably still be waiting to feel chosen. Instead, I learned the truth. Love isn't a test. It's a decision, and the right person doesn't need options to know. Final update that it's been almost 3 years since Rachel and I last spoke. If you asked me a few years ago how long it takes to completely move on from someone, I probably would have said never. But life has a funny way of proving how temporary the things that once consumed you can be. Sophie and I got married last spring. Small ceremony by the ocean, maybe 30 people total. We wrote our own vows, simple and without theatrics. She promised honesty, I promised consistency, and for once, those words didn't sound like opposites. Now, we live in a quiet coastal town. She works remotely. I run logistics for a maritime company. It's not glamorous, but it's peaceful, and that's something I never take for granted anymore. Last month, I had to travel back to the city for a work conference. Same city where Rachel and I used to live. I hadn't been back in almost 2 years. After the conference, I stopped by a small cafe near the old office. Muscle memory, I guess. The kind of place that smells like burnt espresso and nostalgia. And there she was. She was sitting by the window, typing on a laptop, hair shorter now, face a little older, but instantly recognizable. For a second, I almost turned around. Then she looked up, and our eyes met. You could tell by her expression that she didn't expect to ever see me again. And maybe for her, that moment was a collision. For me, it was stillness. She stood up, hesitated, then walked over. "Evan," she said softly. "Hey, hey," I said back, polite but detached. We talked for a few minutes. The kind of conversation you have with someone who used to know your favorite coffee order, but not who you are anymore. She told me she was back in school, working part-time. I told her I'd gotten married. She froze for half a second, then smiled, genuinely, I think. "She's lucky," she said quietly. "So am I replied. Then came that silence. Not awkward, not hostile. Just final. Like both of us understood there was nothing left to fix, nothing left to revisit. Before she left, she said one last thing. "You really did mean it that night, didn't you? When you said you wouldn't wait around." I smiled. I didn't stop loving people. I just started loving myself enough not to beg for space in someone else's life. She nodded, eyes glassy but calm. Then she said, almost to herself, "I used to think freedom meant options. Turns out it meant discipline." "Yeah," I said. "And peace usually looks boring until you've lived without it." We shook hands. Nothing romantic, nothing lingering, just human. Then she left. When I walked outside a few minutes later, the rain had started. And for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to look back. Because when a story ends the right way, there's no curiosity left, just gratitude. That night, I texted Sophie. "Conference went well. Headed home tomorrow. Love you." She replied, "Love you more. Be safe. Bring coffee from that place you used to like." So I did. I brought back a bag of beans. The same cafe where the past and present finally shook hands and walked separate ways. Sometimes people ask how I managed to stay calm through everything. Through betrayal, through distance, through all the versions of goodbye. The truth? I learned that silence isn't weakness. It's evidence that you've outgrown the need to prove you were right. And once you reach that point, nothing anyone says, or doesn't say, can pull you back.